Oje boze tulive na kuyalelo jebyo bayebi Amita pendwa ya vintu ifisume vyoto kula kuibukisha Kana depochimo Wimbo wa temenu wa katongi Abazunga wajita katongi Nakula kuibukisha kateka Kaibuku muna kapona Neseko siove pamenso Yangu ama umebaya Iyaba Iyaba ume Iyaba ume
Kateka wabantu Twakulila lelo twakulila Shikakukonke milimo shove Eti kume mokulo ndolola vale lilo mwingi
Iseko wingi mwakwete Iseko wingi mwakwete Mwaya Mwaya mwende wino tata wesu
Katushi muchi mwakege Wali bomba kale Lomba mwatu jatuleli laki
Penda Upanga mwine Oya mwine Ide dalila Dalila Dalila
Yangu ya baba ume Alana chumwabye Mama Ukula bebyo wati dobuingi Ibisebo wapangiri obuingi Ukuchinjo lusako kumoneko busaka Mama Utituwa basiyani Chakwa katuse
Wonderful day that the Lord has made, 2nd September 2025. And we thank you for joining us in this broadcast. Today we are hosting Dr. Sebastian Kopulande. He's a prominent Zambian politician, is a businessman and consultant with a long career in public service. He used to run a furniture shop, I remember, a furniture or carpentry manufacturing center, and I would see advert on ZMBC at the time, and I used to admire him, but today I'm seated next to him. He has held various influential positions, especially in the public service and government. He's a former member of parliament for Chembe and is currently the chief executive officer of the Zambia International Trade and Investment Center. This is a collaboration between, I think, the Zambian government and other entities, including China. During his public service career, Dr. Kopulande served as special assistant to the president for special affairs, focusing on economy, development, and trade. He served President Levi Mwanawasas at State House as special assistant. He also worked under the former president, Dr. Frederick Chiluba, in his position as permanent secretary under the office of the Minister Without Portfolio. Remember, there was a famous Minister Without Portfolio at the time. There was Godfrey Mianda, Brigadier General Godfrey Mianda, but there was Michael Sata who energized that position because they had linked it that the Secretary General of the party will be the minister of the portfolio. That way it was easier for the political party to supervise government, to help supervise on behalf of the president, government issues and government, from the perspective of the political party. Because the political party wins on manifesto, on wishes. Government has its own plans. There's that disconnect. So how do you bridge that? Sebastian Kopulande was PS in the ministry without portfolio. So we'll be delving into the state of the nation. Where are we? Why are where we are? So I'll be inviting Honorable Sebastian Kopulande shortly.
Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba confronts the truth behind what may be Zambia's darkest environmental catastrophe, the collapse of the Copperbelt Dam that poisoned the lifeline of our nation, the Kafue River. From the Copperbelt through Central Province and into Lusaka, more than 7 million Zambians depend on this river for survival. Today, that very lifeline carries death. Who bears the blame? Did the government of the Republic of Zambia commit an act of treasonable negligence by failing to protect its people? Or did a Chinese mining giant unleash one of the most inhuman and catastrophic crimes in history? An act so reckless it could threaten a third of Zambia's population. The questions are grave. The answers may shake this nation to its core. EM Verified. Monday night. Do not miss it.
On the citizenry. About empathy, not indifference or callous disregard of the people's cries, challenges, feelings, and fears. We all recall the contents of President Mwanawasas' letter that was later known as the letter from the grave that was read to the nation after his burial as he had willed. That was a moving testament of his grieving for Zambia and his personal commitment for the well-being of each and every citizen of the Republic. Levy taught me the enduring lesson that leadership in government is about developing a thick skin capable of absorbing political spears, bullets, and punches. Not about naming enemies, for there is no enmity in politics, but differences of opinion. Many of us here recall the differences between Levy and this political activism.
Just prepare, he will start.
Although he was a lawyer of exemplary caliber and repute, President Mwanawasas showed that leadership in government was not only about legality, it was more about morality, and more often than not, a combination of the two. May I, at this point, give special thanks to President Hakainde Hichilema for having given mercy to Mr. GBM, who in prison was suffering. May I, Mr. President, in that spirit that you showed over GBM, kindly extend the same to Chimbakambwili, who is in jail, ill, and she can be considered. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished persons present here, beside Lev Patrick Mwanawasas stood Maureen Kakubo Mwanawasas, who we are also remembering today. Strong, exceptionally intelligent, compassionate, and unafraid to speak truth to power. As First Lady, she championed the rights of women and children, spearheading initiatives that gave voice to the voiceless and dignity to the marginalized. Her work through the Mwanawasas Community Initiative changed the lives in enduring ways. She was a solid visionary First Lady who was not content with ceremony. When there was something to be done, Maureen rolled up her sleeves, put on her jombos, stepped into the mud, and got to work with the full support and backing of her late husband. Yes, that was Maureen. We all knew her. Some of you may recall that she and other former First Ladies, namely Mama Vera Chiluba, Mama Tandiwe Banda, Mama Christine Kasarasata, all stepped up in a fashion show to support our effort in raising funds for the distribution of free sanitary pads to girls in rural schools. Unprecedented, wasn't that? This was after a motion I successively moved in Parliament on the subject matter. In the marriage of Maureen and Levi, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, we saw a true partnership, each complementing the other, both deeply committed to the well-being of a nation. Today, as we honor them together, we are reminded that their lives were a testament to the power of love, shared vision, and
Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba confronts the truth behind what may be Zambia's darkest environmental catastrophe, the collapse of the Copperbelt Dam that poisoned the lifeline of our nation, the Kafue River. From the Copperbelt through Central Province and into Lusaka, more than 7 million Zambians depend on this river for survival. Today, that very lifeline carries death. Who bears the blame? Did the government of the Republic of Zambia commit an act of treasonable negligence by failing to protect its people? Or did a Chinese mining giant unleash one of the most inhuman and catastrophic crimes in history? An act so reckless it could threaten a third of Zambia's population. The questions are grave. The answers may shake this nation to its core. EM verified. Monday night. Do not miss it.
Thank you very much for all joining us. We are hosting Dr. Sebastian Kopulande, former member of parliament for Chembe constituency in Luapula, the area where they recently discovered Sujilite, if you remember. Honorable Kopulande, welcome to the program. I know we don't have a video of you just now as you are sorting out the issue of lights, but we can start like this. I think Honorable Sebastian Kopulande is muted. Just a minute. Let me just sort that out. Honorable Kopulande, can you hear me? Unless I bring him here,
Can
but
you hear
need
me?
to be dark. Okay, it looks like I have to put a dark box where you are. I know the lights have gone off, but now I can hear you. Welcome to today's program.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I know you are sorting out. Power has just gone in your area, and you're just trying to sort out the standby power. But I've got your audio very, very clearly. We are yet to put you on lights, and we can see you properly. Welcome, sir. How have you been?
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Good evening, listeners, viewers, now mostly listeners. And thank you very much for sparing your time to join the celebrated Emmanuel Mwamba, one of our most outstanding journalists that this country has ever produced. We celebrate you, Your Excellency, Ambassador Mwamba, for having set up this a platform to discuss and share ideas on issues that affect our country, that affect our lives as a people. Thank you very much for
the last time people heard about
inviting
you,
me.
You were a vociferous, strong voice in the National Assembly in Parliament. There were even times when, you took a path that was deemed to be different from the party. That's how strong you were about national issues. Where have you been since then?
Well, thank you. Yes, it's been now, 5 years? Literally since I left Parliament in May 2021, after dissolution. I have been leading a rather quiet life, doing my international trade and investment consultancy, and also mostly working with the African Union on issues of trade and investments as one of the consultants for the organization. I've been involved in a number of social activities, as you may recall. One of those issues on which I took a position that was not exactly what my party wanted. I moved a motion on the free distribution of sanitary pads for girls in rural and public schools. That motion, in the end, succeeded. And since that motion succeeded, I have been directly involved with this activity, getting pads, distributing them, and working with organizations such as Whisper a Dream Foundation, who are working, it's a group of young ladies who are working to teach girls how to make reusable sanitary pads in the schools. So it's kept me busy in that regard. And on the social side, I've been playing bowling at the Lusaka Club.
Yeah, wonderful. I just played your speech at the Levi Mwanawasas Memorial that occurred in August, I think 2-3 weeks ago. Your statement was very, very profound. Many people on social media and other places admired your courage, I think, to highlight the qualities of a leader, of a president, in mirroring what President Levi Mwanawasas was. You picked some nuggets of what a leader should be. What inspired that thought, and why did you choose the opportune time of the Levi Mwanawasas Memorial to deliver that? Many people might not have seen. That's why I played some excerpt of it to demonstrate how powerful that was.
Yes, Ambassador. For me, that occasion, the remembrance of President Levi Mwanawasas, alongside the remembrance, the first memorial of his dear wife, Maureen Mwanawasas, on 16th August this year, I thought was an opportune time, one, to tell the people of Zambia who deeply inside this Levi Mwanawasas was as an individual. Secondly, what kind of leader that he was, what drove him, why did he step forward, why did he stay in office to the extent of risking his own life. So this was an opportune time for me to share what I learned from this man of exceptional leadership quality of exceptional commitment to the cause of this country and exceptional commitment to the well-being of the people of the Republic of Zambia, I thought that it was important that for us that seek that high office or any other office whatsoever in the public sector needed to reflect on what motivates us to raise our hand. What is moving you to seek public office? What do you want to do with? Is it about you? Or is it about service? Is it about you? Or is it about the people? So I thought it was important that those lessons be shared so that we could help people that want to seek office to rethink their positions as to whether they can actually fit in those shoes.
They appear to be.
So that is why.
Yeah, they appear to be two big shoes for many. And the many that aspire for those shoes of presidency may not fit in those shoes. Probably I'll bring that question later in the debate. Honorable Sebastian Kopulande, where are we as a country? The statistics do not help us. In 1964, when we got independence, I think we're top 3 wealthy country in Africa. Of course, we hadn't developed our infrastructure. Our people remained poor. Copper output was good. Reserves were good. Everything was good for our country. We were far richer. We're number 3 in Africa. We were far richer than Singapore, China, South Korea. But alas, these countries, 60 years later, have leapt to be among the top 5, top 6 best economies in the world. China has become the 2nd largest economy in the world, and it might overtake the United States in a few years. What decisions did they make? I ask this because you have places like Singapore, a patch of sand transformed into a vibrant country, into a country that has become a first world. So it's not even about mineral resources. China may use a population and mineral and other resources. Japan is like Singapore, mostly using just technology to leap forward. What did we do wrong? What were our decisions? Or what delayed this transformation for us? What have been your reflections?
Ambassador, that is a very important question. I think we need to look at ourselves. We must look in the mirror and ask ourselves, are we being honest with ourselves? I've heard a lot of statements. The Zambian economy is doing very well. The Zambian economy will grow 6%. And I ask myself, from where will the 6% come from? Your Excellency, you know, you could see our program started late because we had a power cut. So we're now working on a backup power. So how do you grow 6% when your population only has access to power for 5 hours of the day? The remaining 19 hours are in darkness. How do you produce to grow the economy? Because the economy only grows from production. It does not grow from what I say. The economy will not grow from my wishes and dreams. No, the economy will grow from what the people of the country will produce. GDP is a sum total of individual productivity. How are you going to power your productivity when you only have 5 hours of access to that power? I think in this situation, I am tempted to ask this question. What is the purpose of an economy? What is the purpose of an economic system anyone wants to put in place? What is the purpose of the economic policies that one gets and the economic policies that one brings to the table in the governance process? Policy we bring who, for me, if you are running an economy that does not benefit your people, then you are running a foreign economy, which means the economy is in bad shape. Now, let me not comment on that really, but let me just... This Afrometer report was issued on 17th March 2025. Now, the Afrobarometer report always measures the impact of economic policy on the citizens and how the citizens view it. Now, this is the title of the Afrobarometer report, which was done by the University of Zambia and the University of Nairobi. And it is titled, Zambians Dissatisfied with Their Economy and the Country's Overall Direction. This is Afrobarometer dispatch number 957, authored by Edward Chiwiri. The summary reads, let me read it. Between 2012 and 2023, Zambia's economy experienced a remarkable growth streak that saw its GDP rise at an average annual rate of 4.85%. Despite this rapid growth, Zambia was reclassified from the ranks of lower middle-income countries to low-income status in 2022 due to a variety of economic challenges. Poverty remains pervasive, with a staggering 60% of the population living below the poverty line, according to the 2022 Living Conditions Monitoring Survey report, which was produced by the Zambia Statistics Agency in 2022. The situation is even more dire in rural areas, where a staggering 78.8% of the population struggle to make ends meet. Moreover, the lasting effects of COVID-19 pandemic, global geopolitical tensions, and drought have all but declared the economic growth trend even more challenging. So what did the Zambians say about the economy? These are the key findings of the Afrobarometer study. 1, 2/3 or 66% of Zambians say that the country is heading in the wrong direction, a 20 percentage point increase from 2022. That means, as of 2025, people are saying in terms of economy, the country is heading in the wrong direction. Secondly, the increasing cost of living tops the list of the most important problems that Zambians want the government to address. The Zambians want the government to confront the cost of living. Third finding, economic considerations dominate the reasons that Zambians consider emigrating from their country. Zambians want to leave the country, to go abroad, to move away from the bad economic conditions. 4, nearly 3/4 or 75% of citizens describe the country's economic condition as fairly bad or very bad. The poor, less educated, and respondents are particularly likely to see the country's economic conditions as bad. So this is what the Zambian people say about the economy. And the JCTR food basket index released in May, 5 months ago, 2005, has shown that in fact, the cost of living has gone through the roof. The average cost for a family of 5 is 11,272 kwacha. Now, if you compare that to the average incomes of a Zambian family, how many people in Zambia are being paid even that break-even amount of 11,000 kwacha monthly? And yet this is what they are spending monthly. What does this say? We have a population living in debt. Because they have to spend 11,000, but they only earn maybe 3,000. How many employers pay their housemaids 5,000, 6,000, 10,000? So these are the conditions we are in. For me, these are the statistics that every policy maker must be looking at. Not statistics produced in some spaces somewhere which are meant to blind you, to show you that you are doing well when your people are actually crying and suffering.
Dr. Sebastian Kopulande, clearly there is a disconnect. The Minister of Finance, the President, speak with a lot of optimism. They say they've rescheduled the debt, that they are using CDF across every community across the country, that they've reintroduced free education, and that the production from the copper mine gives them hope that the economy is on track. When we present the status like you have, where we have load shedding that has paralyzed our economy, going into 3rd year, when you have the worst cost of living crisis, even the same debt they claim to have rescheduled, the figures from Ministry of Finance are showing that we are paying in upwards of about $900 million a year That is a significant amount from a small economy like this at the moment. And the figure is projected to rise in 2026, 2027, and 2028, peaking at $1.2 billion per year just in debt service. When you hear this optimism by government, are we living in alternative reality? Where are we? What is the problem to having an honest debate?
Ambassador, the power again.
Your power has gone, but you can, maybe it has come and it's going to switch, but we can hear your voice. I'll try to bring a picture of you. Continue to speak, sir.
Okay. Okay.
I can hear you.
Ambassador, your question was, are we living in different realities, and what is the problem about being honest with ourselves? You see, when you cannot look yourself in the mirror, you would believe that your hair is combed when the hair is not combed.
Wonderful, wonderful. I can hear you. You can continue.
And you will go out.
Yeah. The volume is there. We can
to a function,
to
a
speak,
wedding.
Sir.
You can go out to a wedding, to a function with unkempt hair. That is the danger of self-deception. Because at the end of the day, the reality will dawn on you, like this report by this Afrobarometer report. It is telling us what the reality is, that 50% of our population want to leave the country. And the reason? Economic. And no other. So, the danger with that position of self-deception is that you fail to address the problem. Because you think you are okay. If you are okay, then there is no problem. You don't fix what is not broken. If you believe it's not broken, you won't do anything about it. But if you realize something is broken and we need to intervene, then you take the right policies. That is the danger. And it is for this very reason of not being realistic with ourselves that we have remained behind while the rest of the world is moving. Our people continue to remain in perpetual poverty. We are saying here that the Zambian economy will grow. My question is, where from? Like I said earlier. I mentioned the question of energy. Secondly, where is the finance to fund growth? Where is the finance to fund productivity? Where is the capital for the private sector to access for them to invest in productive activity? As I keep saying, our country, the way it is at the moment, is structurally incapable to grow economically. Why? The key reason according to me, is the lack of capital for investment in the Zambian market. I'll tell you something, Ambassador. Our current financial sector structure is dominated by short-term commercial banks, which cannot support long-term development. It cannot support industrialization. Neither can it support citizens' economic empowerment. What do we have? We have 15 commercial banks. Okay? As you know, commercial banks only lend up to a maximum of 12 months. Now, can you borrow to invest in a mining venture and pay back within 12 months? Can you borrow and invest in a manufacturing venture and pay back after 12 months? Can you build a hotel, support your tourism industry, and pay your loan back in 12 months? It's not possible. So commercial banks are not a development financial institution. They are there to give you working capital, but not for long-term investment. We have 10 deposit-taking non-bank financial institutions. We have 5 leasing finance companies. We have 27 microfinance institutions in Zambia at the moment. This is according to the records of Bank of Zambia. Now, look at what is very interesting. Out of only 27 microfinance institutions, 22 are in Lusaka, 3 in Kitwe, 1 in Chingola, and 1 in Mongu. Yes, this may have branches here and there, but the 22 are only in Lusaka. So that means our rural areas, where the raw materials are, where the opportunities are starved of capital. The capital is in the city, actually the one city, the capital city. We have 67 bureaux de change. Out of 67 bureaux de change, 63 are in Lusaka. 1 in Ndola, 1 in Kitwe, and 1 in Chingola. Now, okay, this may have little branches spread out here and there, but then you see that our rural areas are starved of financial services. So we desperately need a new policy and a new financial architecture that will deliver affordable, accessible, and inclusive finance for every sector and for every Zambian. This is a desperate need. You cannot grow an economy where there is no finance, because finance is the lifeblood of an economy. It's the lifeblood of industry. It's the lifeblood of business. It's the lifeblood of development and growth. So the question
Doc,
is,
before you go any further, you are right about the role of the financial sector. I personally grieved when DBZ was closed and closed indefinitely. Commercial banks will lend, like you say, a maximum 12 months. Anything beyond that, the capital becomes totally unaffordable because they are commercial banks. We closed DBZ with no alternative inside. When former Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping, who's credited for crafting literally the modern economy of China, visited Japan in 1978. He wanted to learn how Japan had leapt from a war-torn area that had surrendered, that suffered 2 nuclear bombs, to a thriving top 10 economy just in a period of, I think, 30 years. And the Japanese Prime Minister just asked China, Deng Xiaoping, how many banks do you have? And when he was given the number, he says, go and multiply the number of lending institutions you have. I think that's what you are trying to say. The role of finance in development is very key before we touch other sectors. Just emphasize on that.
Your Excellency, that's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. How you can sit here and dream of growth beats my understanding, because where will the growth come from? Where is the seed? Because you have to plant a seed for a crop to grow. Where is the seed? The seed is the capital, but the capital is not there. And you're talking about achieving 6% growth. No power, no capital, and you want you think you can achieve 6% growth? Ambassador, the country needs to address itself, and it needs to address the financial architecture. And what we need, in my view, after the closure Development Bank of Zambia, is that we need to reopen a new development bank as a matter of urgency. It must be priority on top of the financial sector authorities. This must be a priority. This must be top of the agenda of the central bank and the Ministry of Finance. There must be a new development bank that should finance investment, long-term investment across all the sectors. Secondly, development ambassador. You were talking about Japan. Japan's economy is 89% small enterprise, small and medium enterprise, SME. 89% of Japan's economy is SME, and Japan is one of the leading economies of the world. So we need to have an SME development bank to ensure that we finance SME growth, we finance SME business activity, so that SMEs can provide employment to our people. In Zambia, 80% of the business enterprises are SMEs. Now these SMEs, one, there's no institution to get money from. Two, if they go to the bank, to a commercial bank, the commercial bank will demand an arm and a leg, and you have to commit your wife and children and your grandchildren and your unborn grandchildren as part of your collateral for you to borrow money from them. You got to have a specialized SME development bank that should be spread across the country, including all the rural areas. Thirdly, we do not even have an export-import bank in Zambia that should provide finance for export projects. There should be an institution, the Export-Import Bank. Are you surprised that big economies, India has got a thriving Export-Import Bank of India. China has got a huge Export-Import Bank of China. And most of our debt as Zambia to China is debt from the Exim Bank of China. We need that. We then have to go beyond these generalities. We must have sectoral focused financial institutions for key industries. Firstly, we need an agricultural development bank. We need a bank specifically for mining industry. The beauty of having sector-specific banking institutions is they will have technicians in those sectors, competent engineers in the bank who understand the sector, so that when they are lending to that sector, they know very well what can be done and what cannot be done. Our people today are faced with a challenge in housing. Look at the extent to which unplanned housing settlements are blooming up. People cannot build decent houses. So we need a financial institution to finance housing development. For some reason in this country, we just believe in the traditional Anglophone banking approach. We don't seem to understand that there is an alternative approach to banking, which is called Islamic banking. Islamic banking does not demand interest payments. Islamic banking requires that you work with them so that they share in the profits. So you do not have the pressure of paying profit. Can we relook? Can we look once again at our financial services laws so that we can allow the entry of this type of banking institutions, which have a different approach to lending? Our
Doc,
rural areas are starved.
Doc, just to add as you break down sector by sector, and I love how you have demanded that we need a total reform in the financial infrastructure. The architecture we have probably has not been responding to the state of our economy, to the needs of our SMEs, who can be the engine of growth for our economy. Clearly, you have a banking sector that is absent and posts super profits, whatever the state of the economy. Many analysts think that our economy can be jump-started from the agricultural sector, the mining sector, tourism sector, and especially the financial sector, which you have touched on. Our opportunities in the agricultural sector remain potential. What are your thoughts around agriculture and the agricultural sector, and how can we transform that sector to drive our economy?
Your Excellency, agriculture should in fact be seen as the primary sector that will not only guarantee you food security, but will act as the backbone of your economy, because over 60% of Zambian households live out of agriculture. However, currently, despite the vast amounts of arable land that we have, and the 60% of Zambian land is actually arable, we have abundant waters. 45% of SADC water, of all the water in the SADC region, is in Zambia. We have a youthful, hardworking population. But despite all this, the agricultural sector remains undeveloped. Low levels of productivity, remains exposed to climate vulnerability, and very poor access to markets for those that participate in the sector. We need to transform the agricultural sector into a modern and competitive sector so that we ensure the country has food security. And beyond food security, that the country has food sovereignty. Food sovereignty is a higher level objective where it means that no one will come and tell me what to eat. I think one case of food sovereignty, the demonstration of food sovereignty, was demonstrated during President Mwanawasas' time when he refused to accept GMO maize from the United States and other Western countries. They told him, your people will die. He said, when one dies, take me to The Hague. And that is when what was called winter maize was born. Agriculture must be supported, transformed, so that it can be the main creator of jobs. It can be the main creator of rural industries. Agriculture can generate export earnings, and it will empower our youth, women, and small-scale farmers. But for us to get there, we need to have very clear policy interventions. We have to modernize the sector. We need to introduce and be serious about agricultural mechanization. We need to be serious about irrigation so that we protect ourselves against climate conditions that may not be favorable. We cannot today, Ambassador, 60 years something after independence, still be rain dependent for our agricultural activities. Come on, we can do better. We cannot still, 60 years after independence, be doing our agriculture nakakasu kambwili. My Chipata relatives would put it. Kambwili agriculture should go. We need to mechanize. And how do we mechanize? There are details that can be given, but once a government gets involved, we can make use of the local council system as the channel through which we can mechanize agriculture at the village level. We need to move away from this idea of every year we are giving contracts to import fertilizer. Why can't we grow our fertilizer here? I'm actually happy with what's happening there, but we can do more. I see new investments in agricultural, in fertilizer production, like capital fertilizers. And by the way, Ambassador, you'll be happy that we have formed that players in the fertilizer sector have formed a Fertilizer Association of Zambia to make sure that the standards of fertilizer is correct, that fertilizer is brought at the right time, and that the type of fertilizer that is brought into the country is the right type and that the right quantities are given. But you see, we have had some unfortunate experiences where supply of fertilizer under the Farmer Input Support Program has been inadequate. People have been sharing fertilizers in what is called medas, when previously everyone received at least 4 bags of each type. Today they are sharing fertilizer in medas. Ambassador, like I mentioned earlier, one thing we must do is establish an agricultural finance bank. And that agricultural finance bank, its focus must be to provide capital to the agricultural sector. We must undertake land reform to ensure that we have secure land rights and to ensure that Zambians have access to land for them to be productive. We must focus on agro-processing and the complete agricultural value chains with value addition. Agro-processing, including on-farm value addition, in order to create rural jobs and create jobs on the farm, must be our primary focus. And we must incentivize initiative towards value addition, on-farm value addition. Agriculture, your ambassador, can be used as an empowerment tool for our women and youth. We must ensure that we protect our seed sovereignty. Ambassador, I was at pain to learn that in this country we have passed a law that criminalizes the use of our indigenous seed. God, my God. God, my God. This law is intended to
Doc, just that
protect.
matter you've touched is very, very important. There is an act, a bill on plant and hybrid that is being pushed on the throats of these countries, Kenya, Tanzania, Zambia, and I think Malawi. It's the same standard bill. It's outlawing our traditional seeds. It's banning you to share your seed even with your neighbor. You'll be yoked to these seed producers who produce hybrid seeds. They've invested a lot of money, both in the promotion of their hybrid seeds and to crowd out our traditional seeds, which are resilient, that have been grown for many, many centuries in Africa. And sadly, our leaders don't see this. They don't see this law that is being imposed on Africa, so that these monopolies take over agriculture sector, because they know that's the future. Feeding the world is where the future is. It may not even be in mining. And that's why they are creating these laws, and I'm glad that you've touched on that. I'm also excited that you talked about the Kambwili farming, that it should come to an end. In this day and age, we cannot have Kambwili, Turedima no Tumbwili, no Lukasu. Really, if we're serious, CDF can be used for proper things like mechanized farming. We have set aside over 10 farming blocks: Nansanga in Serenje, Kalumwanga in Kaoma, Luena in Kawambwa, Mansha in Shiwangandu, Solwezi in Solwezi, Simanga in Kazungula, Luswishi in Lufanyama, Chikumbilo in Lundazi, Shikabeta in Rufunsa. Now this is 10 million hectares of land. This program, I think, started under Mwanawasas when he set up Nansanga. The subsequent governments have continued to increase, and I think we have on farming blocks up to 10 million hectares of land. So we already have a seed in which we can quickly transform our country, beat unemployment, and generate food not just for ourselves but for SADC and Africa. Now, I'll move you away from the agricultural sector. The mining sector is another booming sector. Gold is being found everywhere, and we are not regularizing it. They are finding Sugilite in your own constituency. Sugilite, you were an MP there. Imagine what Sugilite could have done if it was properly utilized. Now we are being told it's been depleted already before you, Chembe, and others could even benefit from it. That's a story of our country.
Before we even knew it existed.
Yeah. I'll give you an example of Ghana. Ghana has a lot of gold, and it was being mined illegally. The new government simply outlawed the presence of foreigners, and it took over the entire marketing of gold. And they no longer called anyone illegal miner. They didn't care where you were getting the gold, and you should sell it to Ghana. And then they unleashed their environmental authority body to ensure that the rivers and streams were not being poisoned. And within a period of 6 months, they've yielded $5 billion from a sector where they used to get just headaches. What are we doing wrong in the large-scale mining and in subsector like the gold and the gemstone sectors?
Ambassador, you cannot be more right on the issue of the mining sector. In our own case as the Republic of Zambia, mining is the largest economic contributor, and it accounts for nearly 80% of our export earnings, primarily from just copper and cobalt. And like you have said, gold has come on board. We have had emeralds, other gemstones playing in the mining sector. For gemstones and emeralds in particular, we don't even hear anyone talk about them. We don't even know how much is coming into the country from the export of emeralds. Despite having such a thriving mining sector, Ambassador, the benefits to ordinary Zambians have been minimal. It's through menial jobs only. Because the sector is dominated by foreign interests. You cannot, and it must be embarrassing to us Zambians that the dominant sector, 80% of your foreign earnings, there is no noticeable Zambian involvement there. The mines are owned by foreign interests. The time has come for us to commit to transforming this sector into a transparent, inclusive, and Zambian-driven industry, which will foster ownership, promote value addition, and ensure that we benefit as a people. And for this, Ambassador, my thoughts are first and foremost, we need to have a state-owned special purpose vehicle and transform ZCCM Investment Holdings, or ZCCM, into a sovereign mining and investment company, which must take interest in every mining operation. Why? Because the profits must be retained here, not 2% of the revenues coming out of gold would accrue to the people of Zambia. We must ensure, Ambassador, that there is local ownership and citizen participation in this sector, because this sector is critical. Like you have said, there is gold all over. But each time any gold, substantial gold reserves are discovered, whoever is mining that is declared illegal. How can I be illegal when I am simply harvesting what God put behind my house, in my own yard? The biggest inhibitor of Zambian participation in the mining industry has been the lack of capital. The lack of capital has kept us away from this sector as Zambians, because mining is a heavy investment sector, and it requires long-term financing, because you can invest and keep mining and mining for 5 years before you hit that gold mine. You hit that gold. You can mine for 5, 10 years before you hit that green stone. Hence, my earlier proposal, Ambassador, that we need to have a specially created mining development bank that will help Zambians to access finance to invest in the mining industry. Ambassador, we need to take a very clear position. We need to come to a point where no mineral leaves this country without value addition. No mineral at all must leave our borders. That we must start now only exporting copper wire, we must start exporting electric motors and whatever else is made out of. Otherwise, what are we doing? We are only exporting jobs. We are creating industries, we are creating jobs in other countries, and we import these copper wire, we import the electric motors at very high cost. Here we are. Zambia is one of the countries that has the critical minerals required for the EV motor vehicle revolution. Why are we still exporting raw copper? Our roads have been destroyed by trucks carrying this copper. We must insist on beneficiation. We must establish industries for copper cables, for batteries, for gemstone processing. And we can do that. And we can design an incentive for value addition. We must also, Ambassador, look at diversifying beyond copper and cobalt to put more focus on the gemstone. Gemstone, the women are doing very well in the gemstone sector. But these women are not even supported with extraction technologies They are not supported with value addition technologies, the cutting, the polishing equipment. They are not supported. There is no one to finance them to buy those things that they require to grow their businesses. We must look at mining uranium, lithium, manganese, and other rare earths. One thing is clearly needed for us to diversify. Our geological survey department must be empowered with the equipment in order to geologically map this country in detail. And we must be able to map this country in terms of reserves, mineral reserves that we have, and we must value those reserves so that we know what it is we are sitting on and what it is that we shall need to translate the reserves into actual value. Ambassador, one important area, unfortunately, where we are failing is the issue of accountability in the mining industry, the issue of transparency. The Zambian people are just seeing contracts going. Zambian people are just seeing signatures if they discover them, because they are not signed in public. Transparency is critical because these companies that are involved in the mining of these minerals must provide to the nation the statistics so that we know the value that we are generating from.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sebastian Kopulande. Viewers, this is your time. Would like you to call for any question. We are featuring former MP for Chembe, Dr. Sebastian Kopulande. Is an economist, is a businessman, is an inspiration leader. He's worked in the public service at senior level for some time and is here to give us insights into the current state of the economy and the challenges that we face and what then can be done. And he has touched on some of the solutions that can be done. Clearly, Honorable Sebastian Kopulande, the UPND have been in government for the last 4 years. The Minister of Finance will soon be preparing his last budget for the term, because beyond that, the next September when we have a new budget, there would have gone to an election and probably there would have been a new government, or this government would have been retained. The UPND are criticized to have fostered foreign interest during this period, as seen in their decision making, especially in key sectors like the mining sector. They seem to have neglected the SMEs. There's been now a clampdown of democracy itself, where institutions of democracy are threatened with literally a stranglehold. There have been new laws, cyber laws, that have put a blanket of silence over our country. Zambians are having a look at an alternative government. They say, we gave an opportunity to the UPND, we voted them en masse, we removed the Patriotic Front, but this government seems to be worse. Look at the price of fuel, price of meal, price of everything, price of electricity. Then look at the compounded problems such as load shedding. So our people are beginning to have a second question. Can we have an alternative government? And who is the alternative government other than the people in the opposition? What are your thoughts about the current state of the opposition? And are you going to in any way join the fray to see how you can help bring sanity to the opposition?
Ambassador, that's a very clever way of asking. Of course, you cannot underestimate highly accomplished journalist. Yes, we do have a challenge. There are issues around our governance at the moment. There are issues around democratization. Ambassador, you realize that for the first time in a long time, we are having visitors from the United Nations to come and look at our human rights record, and they produce a report that is not very complimentary to the current government in terms of human rights. Yes, there have been efforts to suppress the freedoms of the people of this country. Freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of assembly have all been under threat. I don't know how many political party leaders are in jail at the moment, or how many have been jailed before for saying something. Today, people get jailed because they said something, not because they did something. From what I knew, what we were used to in the past was that people went to jail for what they did, not for what they said. You see, I worked with Levi Mwanawasas. They used to call him cabbage, and he knew those who would call him cabbage. Someone even said, Mwanawasas has no brain. You see, when he was in that accident, the brain fell out onto tarmac, and they were collecting the brain, and some of the tarmac was put back in the head. Did anyone go to jail? No. No one did. But if you are found corrupt, if you stole money, you did something, you went to jail. You were jailed for what you did, not for what you said. Today, people are in jail for what they said. The opposition need to put its act in order. I know that there are so many people that have come up and offered themselves for leadership, which is a very good thing, which is a very good for democracy, because democracy is what we chose in 1991. And it pains me greatly, Ambassador, to see that we are slowly, maybe not slowly, we are very fast, actually, going back to those days, and even getting worse than it was those days. You can count
Honorable
how
Kopulande,
long
let me take some questions. You answer my question. You've partly answered it, but you answer it in full. Let's just hear what our citizens are saying. They've been following the debate, and they want to join the debate. This is an highly interactive program, and we encourage our people to join the debate. Caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling from.
Good evening, Ambassador Mwamba. Good evening, Dr. Kopulande. This is Katoka. I'm calling you from Germany. And I commend you for this program. I just want to mention or to say something based on 2 points, and also ask a question to the doctor. Hopefully he can give me an answer, which I believe he will. We watched an interview the other day where the president was being interviewed by this African something forum. And it amazed me to see how many times he mentioned the economy. He keeps doing this, and I've just had enough of it because I don't know why he keeps mentioning globalization. He has these two major words, globalization and the economy. He says he's an economist, and it baffles me to see that as an economist, our president doesn't know that the economy does not grow magically. It needs you to do the needful. There are principles that needs to be applied in a country or in a society for you to see results. Apparently, he has not invested in agriculture. He was giving medals of fertilizer. He invested probably in Kaloma and Monze, where we heard that he gave them a lot of farming inputs as compared to Northwestern, Northern, or Eastern province. He's been biased. And that is just to tell us that he doesn't love the Zambian people equally. He's more interested in the southern region, of which everybody can attest that that's where his heart is. And we don't need such a leader. I would like the doctor to comment on that. And also, when it comes to empowerment, he keeps singing the song of CDF, CDF, CDF. I don't know the CDF, what it is, whether it's come to develop our nation, what is it meant for? I would have been happy if embarked on, let's say, empowering the youth, empowering people into going into agriculture. We have a lot of fertile land in Zambia. We have rice on the Mongo side, which is super rice. We have Chama rice. Why can't our government invest in these things? We have Nakonde rice. We can't be importing South African baked beans when we have so much beans in Zambia. We have so much fruits, and yet we lack our own brand that can go worldwide. We have so much that we can offer to the world. Even the maize, we can just diversify and not just have it for mealy meal, but we can have things like rice, spiced rice, popcorns, variety, canned maize that has been bought. I don't know what the problem is when they talk of CDF. So I would like to find out, like, how can we develop in a society where the president claims that he's an economist and yet he doesn't apply those principles, because it's not by theory, it's by practical, definitely. And we cannot have results without putting in the work. And then he doesn't support our farmers. And when we go into the mining sector, everybody knows that we are getting zero as a nation. It will baffle you, Ambassador, that I go to Rolex shop almost every time because I pass there as I go for work. And when you enter that shop, the first thing you will see there, you'll be greeted by rings that have been written, engraved with Zambian emerald. These are things I look at and cry because I know they are coming from my country, but I can hardly afford them. So you can just imagine, how can we have a country today? We don't even have companies that produce our own copper wire, our own things that go by our minerals that we have so much. Everything that we have to sell it. Everything. We don't want to add value to them. And I'm happy that the doctor mentioned this thing. I would like him to elaborate more. Maybe the president will understand that the economy will not rise up like that. He needs to see that things are not okay. And he needs to put in the work and distribute resources in the country equally, in agriculture, in the mining sector. Zambians need to benefit. We don't need a country where the president just sings and sings and sings. They've given him now a name called Washi Promise, meaning that he's a liar. It's just another term to say he's a liar. And he doesn't see that people are tired of these lies. Like me, I'm tired. I couldn't finish that interview because it was full of lies. So we can't have that. We want to look forward to listen to our president. When he's airing on air, we want to listen to what he's saying. What is his next idea? But now it's like you already know he's going to lie. You are not even interested in it. So
thank you,
yeah.
Patricia from Germany. And thank you for your insightful. I've got another caller. Caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Thank you, Excellency. This is Tirimbeke Zulu calling from Lusaka.
Mr. Zulu from Lusaka.
Dr. Kopulande.
Yeah, make your contributions.
Yes. Thank you so much. Doc, greetings to you. You have superior wisdom there. We are enjoying your presentation. We need such minds in Zambia. Mine is just a short contribution. I'm talking about areas like my area where I come from, Eastern Province, which has no perennial rivers. You'll find that this time of the year, even the Luanga River, our main river there, you can even play beach soccer. It's dry completely. But in other areas, you find that there are perennial rivers, and agriculture is not at that stage that it's supposed to be. And you find that even our cattle in my area is dwarfed. They have to walk long distances to find food, to find water, so that our cattle is small. I'm sure you've noticed that. Then, of course, there is an alternative in irrigation, but a poor man like myself, I cannot afford those center pivots. So from your wisdom, Doc, how can such areas be assisted in terms of agriculture? Because they need also to be adding to the national food basket. What measures can we put in place to ensure that areas without perennial rivers also start producing food year out without stopping when it's dry season? So I needed to get your wisdom on that one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Wise Ambassador.
Good evening.
I want to greet our doc.
Yes.
And acknowledge his way of articulating things. Very wise man. I still wonder why we gave this man a mandate who is very empty like this. Always we've got men like him and you, Ambassador. I've got two things to speak to this evening. The first thing is how he is using the youths. You know, this president is taking advantage of young people, giving them sweets to march for him all over town, inconvenience a lot of people. Instead of him give those students electricity so that they can start properly, he gives them good quality of education. He lines up with them and he starts giving them sweets, and they start lining up for him. He's got nowhere to run to. He's running to kids who know the one that he knows that he can take advantage of them. You know, this man is a manipulator, and he is going to cause a lot of problems. He's not allowing anybody to go and protest about the load shedding, the high cost of living, but he's allowing people to make this town stand still using students in politics. Let him not politicize our students. Let them have credible education, quality education, not giving sweets. The other thing that is more of my concern, Your Excellency, today I passed through Hero Stadium. What got into my attention is I saw how this man has got a lot of hatred for the people of Zambia. This man has got a very bad heart. I found the buses are loading there. Those were buses which were empowered by former President Edgar Chagwalungu through his loving gesture of empowering the youths. The bus, I'm telling you, if you can go through Hero Stadium, you find number buses yale onaika. If he was a good man, at least in the pocket of bus, Apokuba youthi, but over a stat in Bakadaba PF, Apera Kuno Bakadaba Kubare, Chakoma Basi, which Rapokama Basi area, I have Vika Parati Alevora. We show you won't talk at the shining with more with sure we want.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, my dear brother. Hello, we've got another caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Ambassador Mwamba. Good evening, Dr. Kopulande. This is Zephania. I'm calling from Lusaka, Zambia.
Yes, Zephania, make your contribution.
Yes, I think I'll just add on what my brother, this previous caller, just said, because I have seen today a UNZA student went and celebrated that Zambia cost of living has improved, load shedding has ended. And you know what is shocking is that instead of leveling the political field, President Hakainde Hichilema, all what he wants is to see people say he has achieved when he hasn't. And I saw another message where it says that he's the best president in Africa, surpassing Traore. So now, when you look at what Comrade Kopulande is saying, the issue of value addition, I think if I recall very well, PF had started with the creation of cluster, industries in every province of Zambia. which was supposed to be continued this time around, they could have managed to create 1 million jobs. Now, today we have seen this government is talking about what they have achieved, which they haven't, when they promised the Zambian people that they're going to create 1 million jobs, which was supposed to be a good thing for every Zambian, meaning youths who went there. Once they graduated, they were supposed to find jobs waiting for them. But when you look at what is happening today, Zambia, all what they want all of us to become praise singers so that people can see that President Hakainde has worked. It's good. Now, the question I want to ask you, Kopulande, does he have any intention that he wants to stand as party president, whether in PF or he wants to create his own political party? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Endita Vanemulishani.
Bueno, this is Rob calling from London.
Rob from London, make your contributions or ask your question to Dr. Kopulande.
Okay, so my contributions, you've talked about the existence of 22 banks in Zambia or 24 banks in Zambia. You've talked about the need for more banks, but actually I'd submit to you that instead of looking for new banks to start up in Zambia, what we need to do is look at the structure issues and the policy issues around the existing actors. So let's break this down a bit. In terms of the functions of a bank, it takes deposits, it keeps money safe and facilitates payments, and it provides lending. That lending is credit creation. What we have at the moment is you have mobile money providers who have sprung up and they're taking money out of what would have otherwise been in the banking system for them to then create credit. And what happens with a lot of these mobile money providers is when things go wrong, there's no recourse, there's no arbiter, there's no one to look at dispute resolution for Zambians when they fall victims of fraud. Yeah? So what we now need is policies in place to fix some of these structural issues to ensure that commercial banks hold funds and that they're able to lend to Zambians. And I do agree with you on the points made around the fact that actually, as an urgent matter, Zambians need to be able to participate in the equity of the nation, from mining, agriculture, all sectors of business, trade, and industry. My last contribution is just on the stamina of our leaders today and their ability to absorb criticism. Let's remember Roy Clark and some of the articles he used to write back in the day. Now, imagine Roy Clark writing one of those articles in today's world with the current leader that's in place. I submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. He's asking about the banking sector and the role of, I think, the rise that has occurred in mobile money banking. And he says you have these informal banking arrangements that are holding a lot of money and probably could have taken away money meant for credit. I think that was the gist of his submission. Let's just take a few calls. There are so many callers already, and let's see how. Caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Hello, good evening, and hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
I'm actually calling you from Kasama. My name is Stanley.
Yes, Stanley.
I'm actually really interested in a doctor's, the issues that he has actually touched on the fertilizer, because I'm actually coming from the Northern Province, and I wanted the Honorable really to comment on the potential of the Northern Corridor, because I come from Chinsali, Mansa, and Kasama, where there is good rainfall, beautiful population, and good soil. And since 1964, this region has really suffered for the underdevelopment. I can't actually really go into details because I want to give space to others to really, also contribute. And in 1991, I think Ronald Reagan, on 20th January, when he was giving a speech on his migration, he said, the government is not the solution. It's not the solution to our problem. It's the government. It's the problem itself. So I don't know if the Honorable Kopulande can really comment on how he can encourage the people, the risk takers, to take
the economy of the country or the region, they are on hands. Like in Northern Province, we are crying for fertilizer factory so that we ourselves, the children of that same soil, that same land, what can we do? We can transition from subsistence farming that we were taught in Chitemene system time like that. We can transition to conventional agriculture. The government doesn't encourage that. And the president actually also, the honorable also touched about criminalization of using our local seeds, which is actually really sad. And I want just actually the honorable to really comment on that. And also there is a question that came to say, can you be the president of this republic? I think from Northern Province, Honorable Kopulande, I think me as a Stanley, I can nominate you, to be the president if anyone is actually really hesitating, because we want leaders. We don't just want the president that in the children. We want leaders that are actually people. And we want to listen to you.
Stanley, thank you very much. There are so many calls, as you can hear in the background. Stanley, thank you. Honorable Sebastian Kopulande is asking about the agriculture and the Northern Circuit and how it has just been lip service. I've got another caller. Caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Thank you, Ambassador Mwamba.
Thank you.
And I also thank you to Honorable Kopulande. This was a fantastic presentation by Honorable Kopulande, and I'm glad that he worked with Mwanawasas, who I regard as one of the greatest leaders this country has ever had. And I just have some few questions. And the first question is he going to stand on its own in 2026, or is he working with other political parties? That's all done. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sorry, I had a call coming in. So is he going to work with other political parties? They're talking about opposition front. Oh, yeah. Then my other question is, he worked with Mwanawasas. What were the main attributes? Because Mwanawasas was a very successful leader, though by the time he was leaving, he lamented that poverty had not improved much. But what are some of the attributes Mwanawasas had as a great leader that some of the leaders today can learn from? That's my question. Then this is specifically for you, Honorable Kopulande. What is your passion, your purpose, and vision for Zambia? And then the second question is, what is the biggest challenge Zambia is facing today, and what are your solutions? And then, what do you think about corruption in Zambia? What are your solutions about combating and fighting corruption in Zambia? And then, last but not the least, if you have to work with the opposition party, other opposition party, because to remove this government, we require all the opposition parties to work together. Are you ready to be led? I rest my case.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kopulande. Are you able to lead? Are you able to be led? That's a wonderful question. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Hello, caller.
Ambassador.
Yes.
Yes, my contribution is I think we did much to hear what Kopulande was saying, but my suggestion is that in the next discussion that we shall have, we start looking at strategies now to see how we move on into ensuring that we move this government from power. So I want to start focusing on that because we have had a lot of discussions on their failures and other things. But now I think we need to move into what strategies we need to employ. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The caller is asking Honorable Sebastian Kopulande that you provided good answers, but he says we probably need to move to the debate on how do we ensure that first we remove this government. Another caller. Yes, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Ambassador.
Good evening.
This is Mkonge calling from East London. Ambassador, lero mbako nimumpele kwa kashitanje she kulondorola kwa experience ya ndiven na live chat question palasti. Na kwete kwa shuko ili yakubombako na ba nyimba. Abalista supply fertilizer for almost 4 years. So kwale bati fertilizer twaliambo kupokerera mu April almost more depots, but ama big depots yana tayari liko kupokerera fertilizer. So by July ama depots nshayingina yesura. Nishana tukwata fertilizer yonse. Ilesa mkufika August nishtwalisa na pa depots. Then palicho na ndifo anjipsheko bushewe na ba PF government pakwe bati bakwanyishe ukulashita fertilizer for 2 seasons because yale ba 2 seasons ngamureshita 2020 nishile ba stroke 2021 so ngamwa shita 2020 ya 2021 season ile isa by April ni mwambo kupokerera yale ba mwam program wale kwanyisha shani ero then pakupera abantu fertilizer wale sta deposit 400 but 400 farmer kumupera 1 pack fertilizer 86 again pari fertilizer 86 kwale bama top up nga kalima millet mwara mubikira po 3 urea and 1D which means insurance pamu afira kwa 39 na weight ila government yale bapera fair free ya groundnuts ya sorghum kwambo kubasambirisho kwebati in future kutibamba nokulima if you apart from men's nomba pali yo system government yafumirepo yale kwanyisha shani because takwale ba pressure twale kwanyisha matane jonse yo barandire twashita twaisara na depots kwambo kurera bafamu okubapera oro then again kuma satellites ya mataba kwefwala ba government vale chitera ma contracts ama local companies ama local transport companies aba kunchende kulya ukusenda mataba ukuyaleta pa main depots not transport of makurusaka so ama satellites yalya aya kushitenyanje balisa afusha sana baingisha kona ma school rivers ebale bamukushitali amataba so sometimes kwale bangwa samsha depot ya isura amataba yambo kupitirira yaresa kuchambeshi impachambeshi ya isura again yambo kuniniko kuya badinisha amataba chiri bali eshita nomba ba government barabalipo na rifiro kuchita understand the system ishibabo mfesha ko bati bare kwanisha ukupera ba farmer ma fertilizer amataba bamba no kuraba pera na ama extra packs ukubasambisho kulima amasaka ukulima soya beans bare bapera fefi ya free not part of that fertilizer means usheni system ishibale bomfya pakwanisha fyonze fero tu filaba pokere konkora mines kuri vendata baibika kuri Zambian government na mupani ushe tafyari wino na muri fyonze fibale shitamataba tiba ndondorera ko bale bomfya ma tupya siminzi nangu bale chitashani nangu emu yabo pako bati bapoke ma mines yali ni emu yabo inshi icharengero ko bati the current government ibwekeshe again ama mines ya pokerwa ko bati rest aligned by the Zambian government.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sebastian Kopulande. I let you have a feel of what the Zambians are feeling locally and abroad, and there are still many calls, but on account of time, we can't take all the calls. Thank you very much to all the callers that called. Honorable Sebastian Kopulande and my team have to go home safely. Remember, this is a live program. Honorable Kopulande, just give your reflections about this, and then let's begin to close the program after your remarks.
Ambassador, one critical point that I did not touch, which has come from the questions, I think it came right from the first question from Patricia in Germany, who raised the issue on economic empowerment. Allow me just a little time to touch on that and what needs to be done to ensure that Zambians become partakers of the economic life of their own country. You cannot run a foreign economy in your country. This is what we have today. And for a long time, the Zambian economy has been dominated by foreign interests, the foreign elites and some local elites, leaving out ordinary Zambian citizens, especially the youth, women, the rural populations, all of who are simply bystanders watching from a distance and simply picking up crumbs falling from the tables of the master, who is the foreigner. I am not saying, Ambassador, that foreign participation in the economy is bad. Far from it. What I'm saying is that while foreign participation is good and is welcome, it should not be, and it should never be, at the expense of Zambian interests. It should not be to the detriment of the owners of the resources to who God gave. Hence, with foreign participation, we need Zambian economic emancipation. Because the next level of the freedom struggle from the 1964 struggle is now economic freedom. That's the next level. And Africa has got to go that way. This is the problem that Africa has had. We have had a leadership in Africa that has been content with what they get behind closed doors at the expense of their indigenous populations. Tell me, how do you explain that a continent that is best endowed with natural resources, a continent that is literally the biblical Garden of Eden, must have the poorest people? Something is not making sense. The gold is here. But England has got more gold reserves than the whole of Africa put together. And England does not have one gold mine. The copper is here. But processing industries are in Europe. The cocoa is here on the continent. But chocolate factories are in Europe, in Switzerland. How do we explain that? This is always what has been my theory. There is enough wealth to go around for all of us to share. But this sharing must be on the basis of the partnership of equals, not a partnership of horse and rider. God gave us these minerals, and we must employ these minerals, the wealth that we draw out of these minerals, to benefit our people. So our next economic liberation struggle for Zambia and for the rest of Africa is to take hold of our economies, control the means of production, and get our people involved. So for this, you need a serious economic empowerment policy framework that must promote broad-based citizen ownership in all key economic sectors. An empowerment policy that promotes women, youth, and persons with disabilities. There must be an empowerment policy that will reverse capital flights by encouraging local wealth retention. This policy must drive entrepreneurship, innovation, and self-reliance amongst the people. We must kill inequality. We must fight poverty and cut the umbilical cord of our historical external economic dependence. For Zambia, the first thing that I would do is to transform the Citizen Economic Empowerment Authority, to transform the Citizen Economic Empowerment Commission into a Citizen Economic Empowerment Authority. By the way, I established the Citizen Economic Empowerment Commission is my brainchild. I established it. I've realized it is not sufficient. What I foresaw then is different. So I'll transform it into a Citizen Economic Empowerment Authority with all the powers now to take responsibility of financing empowerment, to develop policy, to undertake capacity building for Zambian entrepreneurs, to help market development, to push infrastructure support, to incubate new enterprises by Zambians, and to build innovation hubs for Zambian entrepreneurs, women and youth. Under the SME bank, there should be an enterprise fund, an empowerment fund that will go specifically to support new ventures by Zambian citizens. We must look at implementing serious preferential procurement and laws that have to do with local content. And for this, I'm not ashamed. I propose that we must have business reservations. Certain sectors must be owned, be undertaken by citizens. If you go to Botswana, about 40% of the business sectors are reserved for the Swanas. So we have to be serious about economic empowerment. Very, very serious, because without it, we shall remain in perpetual poverty, we shall remain in perpetual servitude to the owners of capital. And for this to happen, we have to take affirmative action. And this affirmative action includes special funding. It includes incentivizing partnerships between local companies and foreign companies. when I developed the M-phase policy, one of the things that I proposed, which was accepted by cabinet in 2006, was that we must graduate incentives. So I would propose that foreign investor who engages in his business with a gets a tax incentive, depending.
Maybe power has gone once again, but I can hear you, Honorable Sebastian Kopulande. It's been 2.5 hours of wonderful discussion, and I would like you to narrow down on your last remarks. Oh, there, power's come back.
Ambassador, I feel like I haven't started yet, because when you get me to talk about empowerment, that's at the core.
Yes, we need to.
That's at the core of my being.
We need a part 2, because even callers are calling. I've got a Robam from Manchester who's saying, please ask Honorable Sebastian Kopulande that the country feels that the next election is about independence 2.0. And he says, but we are worried about the state of the country, the lack of independence in institutions like the Electoral Commission of Zambia, the state of the police, and the country is broken and it appears nothing is working. Then there's a fracture on the unity of our country. And he's asking, you know, these are some of the things that he felt you could also handle, the issue of national unity. And he says, what a great presentation. Clearly, we may owe you a part 2 of Sebastian Kopulande, because I asked you, are you participating in this process? So maybe when you are ready to, you know, whatever preparations that you are making, I can guarantee you a second slot that you come and tell us what is happening. But begin to make your last remarks.
Those are very important issues, Ambassador. For starters, a country can only develop once the people are united, pulling in one direction. A country will develop once the people have reached a very clear understanding as to how they will govern themselves. In 1991, you remember, Ambassador Mwamba was there. We agreed that we are moving away from the one-party dictatorship into a multi-party democratic system of governance. That's what we agreed. And we were resolved on that. And I can give you an example. At the extent to which we were reserved, President Chiluba was elected with an 85% margin in 1991, or 75% margin in 1991. He came on a highly popular platform. But wait a minute. 10 years later, he had misread his popularity. He wanted to stay further. Zambian people said, sorry, sir, that was not the deal. The deal was 2 terms. So, don't try and shortchange Zambians. Zambians know how deals look like. We said we were running a multi-party system of government, which means there is freedom of expression, freedom of association in political parties, there is free speech, free movement, free. Then you come and try and do the opposite. No. No. The question that has come from across the board is, Are you standing? I would like to assure the nation, should I be called upon by the people of Zambia to take a stand, I'll be ready and willing to be one of those that the people of Zambia would consider for adoption as the single candidate to represent the opposition and the other. So I would be willing to do that, if indeed such exists. Because if we don't take responsibility and put
that's
our
a very
hand,
important question. Honorable Kopulande, that's a very important question that came, and I'm glad you are partly answering it. One caller asked you, are you willing to lead the opposition? And are you willing to be led?
I said, Ambassador, that I would be, if I can be considered as one of those that can be considered, I am willing to lead. In a democracy, only one gets taken. And if you are not taken, then you should agree to be led. But what is critical for the Zambian people to know, to understand very clearly, is that it is not simply a question of wanting to be the leader. It's not a question of wanting simply to be president. What are you bringing to the table? What are you bringing to the table? Where have you been? How have you demonstrated in the past that you are ready to sacrifice your personal interests, your personal benefits for the sake of the people of this republic? This is the question. So Zambians must be able to examine whoever is putting their hands up to see if indeed those hands are safe. If Zambians have questions about any of the hands that are going up, then Zambians must be able to look elsewhere, because we don't want to get, again, in a situation of Mwamoneni, as Honorable Kambwiri would put it. Mukaisanga muli Mwamoneni. Look at what we have done. Mwamoneni. Start asking, how did we get here? So it is important that Zambians pay particular attention to this question, that it is not the leader who promises the most who is the one to take them to the promised land. It has to be someone that you believe can attend to your needs, that you believe can respond to your requirements, that you believe will listen to you, that you believe he is one of you, that you believe he knows how you feel about issues, that you believe he will respect your views and he will not push down your throat policies and programs that you do not agree with simply because that leader is in power. This is the lesson, one of the lessons from the Mwanawasas leadership, that it's about consultation, collaboration, understanding, and implementing that which the people put you in office for. So, would I be led? Yes, I will be led. I've been led before. And I'm still being led. So for me, while these issues are very important, opposition unity is very important for us to make sure that this time around, we get it right. We get it right. And we make no mistake. Otherwise, there is a wind of change going on the African continent. Africa has rediscovered itself. And unless you are in tune with that, I understand that well because I consult for the African Union. I know what's going on. I know what Africa is looking to do now. It's more about economic integration. Are we ready as Zambia? Do we have the institutional framework to support the African Continental Free Trade Area? Are we prepared? Do we have the productive capacity to take advantage of the continental market? Because the market pays the one who brings merchandise there to sell. Do we have the merchandise? Or do we still only have copper? If we only have copper, we cannot sell anywhere in Africa.
No, wonderful, wonderful answer, Honorable Kopulande. So when you firm up the decisions, whether you join, you'll be still in the PF, whether there'll be a new vehicle that you'll be participating in, or whether you form a political party and you want to be part of the opposition and Opposition United Front, I think you have a slot available for you. This was an interesting challenge and interesting debate. We overcame hurdles and challenges such as power cuts and power failure, because this is the environment we are now operating in. And Honorable Sebastian Kopulande, I'd like to thank you for making and for sacrificing your time for coming to this wonderful program and for bringing insights. And thank you very much for that wonderful speech you gave at the memorial for the late President, Zambia's State President Levi Patrick Mwanawasas and his dear wife, Mama Maureen Mwanawasas. That was like a window of what leadership and what leaders Zambia needs. So thank you very much for that. And you have a second date on this program. So unless you have something to say, let me thank you, but you can offer your last words.
Ambassador, thank you so very much for giving me an opportunity to speak to you, speak to the nation about very important issues of development, very important issues to do with the future, with our nationhood. We still have a lot of questions to ask ourselves. Are we governing ourselves the best way that we could possibly be governing ourselves? Are we benefiting sufficiently from the resources that God gave us? What kind of partnerships are we getting into with our foreign partners? What kind of agreements? Are those agreements to the benefit of our people? These are the questions that we must ask. And we must look ourselves direct in the mirror and get the correct reflection and do the necessary things that must be done to get it right. This time, fellow Zambians, we cannot make a mistake. We are in a situation like a hunter who has one rifle and one bullet. You get your target, or your target gets you. So, let's get it right. Let's get on the right policy platform, on the right policy direction, so that we can change our fortunes. We cannot afford to continue in abject poverty. May God bless the Republic. May God bless the people of Zambia. I thank you for your time, and shalom. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, wonderful. Dear viewers, we are hosting Dr. Sebastian Kopulande, the former MP for Chembe constituency in Luapula. He's been a national leader for a long time on our political platform. He served as special assistant to the president, the third president, Levi Patrick Mwanawasas, and he's currently the president of an investment and trade forum. And he's here on a journey to participate and contribute to the opposition on the opposition front. In whatever form, he will be returning to come and inform us. Tomorrow, we host Brebna Changala, civil society leader, is going to speak about the state of governance of our country and the concerns. So we have Brebna Changala tomorrow. On Thursday, we have our dear brother Andy Ford Banda. His party is holding a national conference, and they are selecting its leadership. And he says he has surprises for us for the leadership that they are electing. So tomorrow we have Brebna Changala. On Thursday we have Andy Ford Banda. Then we have another set of leaders coming up next week, including Mr. Sebastian Kopulande when he is ready to come. So God bless you. God bless our country. Shalom, shalom. This is a blessed country, and we shall achieve, we shall succeed. See you tomorrow.
On the citizenry, about empathy, not indifference or callous disregard of the people's cries, challenges, feelings, and fears. We all recall the contents of President Mwanawasas' letter, the differences between Levi and his political archrival, Michael Sata. Although he was a lawyer of exemplary caliber and repute, President Mwanawasas showed that leadership in government was not only about legality, it was more about morality, and more often than not, a combination of the two. May I, at this point, give special thanks to President Hakainde Hichilema for having given mercy to Mr. GBM, who in prison was suffering. May I, Mr. President, in that spirit that you showed over GBM, kindly extend the same to Chishimba Kambwili, who is in jail, ill, and she can be considered. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished persons present here, beside Levi Patrick Mwanawasas stood Maureen Kakubo Mwanawasas, who we are also remembering today. Strong, exceptionally intelligent, compassionate, and unafraid to speak truth to power. As First Lady, she championed the rights of women and children, spearheading initiatives that gave voice to the voiceless and dignity to the marginalized. Her work through the Mwanawasas Community Initiative changed the lives in enduring ways. She was a solid, visionary First Lady who was not content with ceremony. When there was something to be done, Maureen rolled up her sleeves, put on her jumbos, stepped into the mud, and got to work with the full support and backing of her late husband. Yes, that was Maureen. We all knew her. Some of you may recall that she and other former First Ladies, namely Mama Vera Chiluba, Mama Tandiwe Banda, Mama Christine Kasevasata, all stepped up in a fashion show to support our effort in raising funds for the distribution of free sanitary pads to girls in rural schools. Unprecedented, wasn't that? This was after a motion I successively moved in Parliament on the subject matter.
Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba confronts the truth behind what may be Zambia's darkest environmental catastrophe, the collapse of the Copperbelt Dam that poisoned the lifeline of our nation, the Kafue River. From the Copperbelt through Central Province and into Lusaka, more than 7 million Zambians depend on this river for survival. Today, that very lifeline carries death. Who bears the blame? Did the government of the Republic of Zambia commit an act of treasonable negligence by failing to protect its people? Or did a Chinese mining giant unleash one of the most inhuman and catastrophic crimes in history? An act so reckless it could threaten a third of Zambia's population. The questions are grave. The answers may shake this nation to its core. EM Verified. Monday night. Do not miss it.
Amitapendwa ya vintu ifisume vyoto kula kuivukisha Kanate potimo Wimbo wa temenu wa katongi Awazunga wajita katongi Nakula kuivukisha kateka Kaibuku muna kapona Neseko siove pameso Yangu ama umebaya Iyaba ume Iyaba ume Kateka wa bantu Twakulila, lelo twakulila Shika kukonke milimo shore Ale filamba, fiena minta pengo sile Deti kume moku londolo la vale Lilo wingi,
Iseko wingi mwakwete Iseko wingi mwakwete Mwaya mwende wino tatawe
Ebisebo wapangiri obwingi Okuchinja oluzago kumoneko busaka Mama Kutituwa na basiyani Chagwa katuse